Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am Dr. Claudia Albers, Planet X research and professional physicist. And today I'd like to bring to you another one of my articles. This one's entitled Snow Turning Black When Burned Has Alien Chemical Compounds. Now, as I have explained in Article 612 entitled Why Planet X Snow Sometimes Does Not Melt, Planet X water, which is low in gravitational energy when it arrives in the Earth's atmosphere in the frozen state, will first absorb gravitational energy, which allows it to be attracted to the Earth's surface. Only after it has absorbed enough gravitational energy to fall down toward the surface of the Earth will it start to gain the energy it needs to change phase from the solid to the liquid phase. And until it reaches that point, it will not melt. I reached this conclusion before I remembered that people had been reporting that they had tried to burn snow and it had not melted. You can see snow coming down here. You can see some snow which was picked up from the ground, and it did not turn black when someone tried to burn it. And this snow, therefore, has to have more than water in it. Water cannot turn black as a result of a flame. If it did, then the same would happen with ice, and we know that it does not. So as shown above, some snow turns black, and as reported by the people experimenting with it, it also smells of chemicals. However, the snow left on the ground from which the sample used for this experiment was taken eventually melts and disappears, leaving nothing but a little puddle of water behind. And this indicates that the snow absorbs energy through absorbing electrons, most likely right from the ground, which will allow it to eventually change phase. But it also shows that there has to be more than water in the snow. Also, some snow melts without turning black or smelling like chemicals, which shows that there are different types of snow, which seems to be made different by the compounds other than snow in them. The type of compound mixed in with the water may also cause certain types of snow to have to absorb more gravitational energy than others before phase change is possible. And since the other chemicals seem to go through sublimation, which usually requires some energy, more energy than melting, because we never see them in a liquid phase, all we see is water. But there's definitely something that is getting burnt there, which cannot be water. And so the amount of energy that would be needed depends on the compounds, and especially since sublimation takes more energy than melting. So the amount of energy required by the snow to reach the point where it can change phase changes depending on what snow you have. In other words, depending on what compounds are mixed in with the water. And here you have a screenshot from a YouTube video showing someone melting some snow from Alaska with a lighter as well, so using a flame. And this particular snow did not turn black, and it just melted readily. And so this means that it had already absorbed enough gravitational energy to be able to readily change its phase. And also it shows that this snow did not have these chemicals that have these strange smells to them, and also did not have chemicals that turned black. But there was still more than snow in this piece, more than water in this piece of snow, because what was left of it was, what was left on the table when it melted was very little water. And so this snow melted without turning black or smelling strange, but it also produced very little water for its initial volume, which is only possible if some of the compounds in it were not water, but sublimated directly into the gaseous phase. Since the water is Planet X debris water, the other compounds have to have been a part of the atmosphere of the planets. Thus, snow has to be water mixed with atmosphere from the Planet X planets, which must have frozen at the time that the planets were destroyed. The water part of the snow must have been atmospheric water as well. In other words, water molecules in the gaseous phase. As the planets broke up, the atmosphere must have been propelled out into space, where it quickly froze and turned to snow. Because of the loss in the gravitational energy occurring at the same time, it must have spread out in a similar way to liquid water, turning into droplets of water because of the same loss. And the fact that the droplets remained in the liquid phase and yet water in the snow became frozen suggests that indeed the loss of gravitational energy caused the matter to lose the ability to change phase, and that thus absorption of gravitational energy is required before a phase change is possible. The artificial chemical smell would suggest that there were chemical factories on the planets, which is not surprising, as these planets had buildings on them much like ours, and therefore had technology much like ours as well. And you may look at Article 610 entitled Advanced Technology on Earth Over 6,000 Years Ago. Thus, some of the snow ended up with chemical compounds in them that had come from factories on the surface. And here you see some of these buildings on the debris pieces that were once a part of these planets. These are the surface, were a part of the surface of the planets. They had buildings on them, and these debris pieces are now coming into our atmosphere, so we can see these buildings, and that's why there are cities floating in our skies. And you may look at Article 5A3 entitled Alien Floating Cities Built on the Planet X Planets Before They Exploded. And you can see that the buildings are very much like our current buildings, suggesting that they had the same type of technology that we now have on our planet. There's also greenery on this piece of a city that was once on one of these planets, which shows that there were seeds on these pieces of the ground from these planets that were viable and survived the journey. And once inside the Earth's atmosphere, they germinated and turned into greenery. And for more details of this, you may look at Article 584 entitled Planet X, the reason behind GMO crops, where I clearly explain as well that these cannot be mirages or holographic projections. So if you have any questions about that, I suggest you look at that particular video. So in conclusion, snow contains compounds which sublimate into gases when the snow melts. These compounds can only have been a part of atmospheres of the Planet X planets, and some of these compounds were obviously artificially produced in factories in operation on the surface of these alien planets. And these are the references. This is Dr. Claudia Albers, Planet X physicist. Thank you for watching.